Never Trumpism. Just won't let this go, right?
I want to ask you right off the top, what was your initial reaction? Were you surprised when you heard about the editorial?
Well, not really surprised because Christianity Today, the magazine, has been moving to the left for some time, and they've been pretty much, the Never Trumpers, and have been opposed him from day one. So I wasn't really that surprised.
Reverend Graham, the president, he's responded. He says that Christianity Today is, quote, a far-left magazine. Would you characterize it the same way?
I would. It certainly has moved to the left. That's the way I would put it. From where my father started the magazine, it has moved considerably to the left over the years. My father actually quit reading the magazine some time ago.
All right, so this is in response to a Christianity Today article. The publication founded by the late Billy Graham. They've been going on for a while now, a couple of decades, and they cover all the latest topics going on in the world from a Christian perspective. And according to them, they try to stay out of it and just kind of let Christians make up their mind and kind of guide their readers in a more Christian aspect, in a more Christian way, and kind of stay out of the political fray. So that's what they claim to be, and so here we are. This basically apolitical publication, commenting on the latest news. So this is an article that I want to go over. It was released, I want to say, the day that Trump was impeached by the House of Representatives, and they jumped right in and took a side. And it's they agree. They think Trump should have been impeached and removed. It's titled "Trump Should Be Removed from Office." So let's go in and see why it should be an empirical, objective fact from the standpoint that of Christians that Trump is the worst. Should be fun. To be fair, they go in and say, let's grant this to the president. The Democrats have had it out for him from day one, and therefore nearly everything they do is under a cloud of partisan suspicion. This has led many to suspect not only motives, but facts in these recent impeachment hearings. And no, Mr. Trump did not have a serious opportunity to offer his side of the story in the House hearings on impeachment. Then they go on, and this is where it gets interesting. But the facts in this instance are unambiguous. The President of the United States attempted to use his political power to coerce a foreign leader to harass and discredit one of the president's political opponents. That is not only a violation of the Constitution, more importantly, it is profoundly immoral. And the rest of the article goes on to say how Trump lacks moral character and how they can justify this by saying that they held the same views towards President Clinton when he was impeached 20 years ago. So lack of moral character is what's at stake here, what's in play, and discussion. Moral character. So Trump's moral character is terrible, and therefore we as Christians should be outraged and eagerly pushing for his removal from office because of the things that he's tweeted and said and done in his past life. So this is the argument. Primarily from the left and also from Never Trumpers, people who didn't vote for Trump in 2016 and still hold his feet to the fire and just can't support him because because he insults people and does things that Christians shouldn't do, and so he's terrible, and so they just can't get behind him. So in the interest of fairness, this article tries to play it down the middle, but when you get to the end of the article, it's pretty clear. Just a bunch of never Trumpers who just can't let it go because it's not unambiguous about what he did. Nevertheless, though,
so the bottom line is 4 facts will never change, Dan. I don't care how many witnesses they bring in. They can have 8 hearings this week, the 2 big hearings with our 3 witnesses last week. The facts have never changed. We've got the transcript. There was no linkage of an investigation to security assistance money. We got the 2 guys on the call, President Trump and President Zelensky, who both said there was no pressure, no pushing. We have the fact that Ukraine didn't know that the aid was held at the time of the call, and most importantly, President Zelensky didn't announce, didn't promise he was going to start any investigation to get the aid released.
The facts in this instance, as they say, are unambiguous, and that it's just so clear that what Trump did was coerce a foreign agent to look into a political opponent. Come on now. All right, so character matters, and I agree, character does matter. It would be nice for any leader of any group to have moral character and integrity, so we can look up to that person as they lead and guide us, and especially towards our children. It's very important in that manner. Moral character is indeed important. We all have fallen short of the glory of God. No one is without sin. Everyone is a sinner, and thus here we are. But yes, moral character is important. However, the impact of the moral character on this nation is, I would argue, more important than their personal moral character in their personal and daily lives. So, let's take a tale of 2 presidents. President Obama, our previous president. Great guy in his personal life with his family, great moral character, married to the same woman for all these years, has raised 2 daughters, great moral character, and I sincerely mean that. That's good. However, look at the impact of the moral character on this nation that he himself imposed, that he let the charge, open the door, and unleashed on this nation. President Obama, as a senator, refused to vote for a bill that would provide health care to babies who have survived a botched abortion. Refused to vote for it as a senator. He consistently attacked religious liberty, stifled free speech, and put the government in charge of such. Because, you know, we got to be nice and loving and caring to everyone. So, you know, it's the government that should be in charge. Celebrated trans ideology, trans bathrooms, thus, you know, furthering that social divide in our culture unnecessarily. It didn't have to be an issue, but because he endorsed homosexuality and undermined traditional marriage, so along came the transgender movement, one after another. And look where we are now. Look where we are now. Young boys dressed up as little girls, stripping in strip clubs for grown men. Trans kids and trans boys twerking at pride parades. It doesn't affect you? It's not your business? Come on now. This all started, under Obama and his leadership. Now, okay, on the flip side, let's look at President Trump. The most pro-life president in history. The first president to speak at the pro-life march, to stand up for the unborn. He, to his credit, tried to keep at least some taxpayer money away from Planned Parenthood. He appointed 2 pro-life originalist Supreme Court justices to the Supreme Court, and via his integrity, he stayed with the last one, Brett Kavanaugh, through his extremely controversial hearings, and he stuck it out with him. He didn't back down because he knew what it is that he was doing, appointing an originalist to the Supreme Court. Despite all the hoopla and all the negativity, all the accusations that he got, he stayed with him because he believed in him. He's the only president to move the Jewish embassy to Jerusalem, despite past presidents and and their promises to do the same. Lower taxes, tax cuts for the middle class, and not just the rich, not just the corporations or the people who make jobs. Tax cuts for everyone and lowered taxes. He protected religious liberty. Look at Jack Phillips, the cake baker, protected his right to conduct business in his manner that didn't violate his faith. He believes in traditional marriage, and as a personal business owner, he didn't cater gay weddings, nor should he be forced to do so. He championed free speech. In fact, he signed a bill for college campuses about them being open to free speech, because that is essential to campuses. That's where debate, which is the soul of democracy, that's one of the beacons of where that happens, on college campuses, and Trump focused in on that. This is one of the greatest economies in American history, and I've gone over how this is more Trump's economy primarily and not Obama's, but to his credit though, like, even if you don't agree that this is Trump's economy, like, he still is contributing significantly to the overall well-being of everyone participating in this economy, giving them more of their own money and helping them to keep their own money and to make more of it, more economic opportunity. He championed the military and national defense to help protect this nation. He just made a deal with India and a weapons trade agreement, thus strengthening the tie between our two nations. This is an economy that creates goodwill and protects those liberties as enshrined to us by our Creator. This terrible, evil man that you just will not support because you're a never Trumper or you're a lefty. This evil man is doing all of these things that goes to the moral character of this nation. That totally outweighs and is much more important than any personal doings that someone may or may not have. It's important for them to have personal moral character, but what actions do they take to impact the moral character of the congregation, the body of people that they lead? So if you're just going to hold on to that because Trump tweeted something that you don't like that he said about, maybe asshole countries, which he had a right to say, but again, not going to get into the weeds of anything, but something that he may have said. Look at the bigger picture. What is it that you're doing? You are spoiling the vote for someone like a Bernie Sanders to get in, for something like socialism to take over. So what's more important? Virtue signaling to other never Trump conservatives, showing them that you're standing on principle by opposing everything Trump does, or the majority of what he does, because he's just so evil, and thus letting someone like Hillary Clinton come in so you can defeat her in 4 years and stand on principle. You may have had that argument in 2016, and we just respectfully disagree with you on that one, because we believe Trump would do what he would say. I will give it to you that it was a gamble, but we believe Trump would do what he would say. And he did. Promises made, promises kept. All the stuff I just rattled off. So, are you willing to hold on to that and let something like socialism take over? Because that's knocking at the door right now. You want less speech, more online censorship, more, like letting big tech have its way, and more letting them get around the fact of not answering the question: are they a publisher or are they a platform? You're gonna just hold on to this principle of opposing Trump so we can't get other things done. Socialism is gonna run free now. More pro-choice legislation, more aborted babies, more coercion from the government to comply. Is that really what you're doing here? Is that really what you want? Because that my friends, does not sound so moral. If God can use Saul, who persecuted Christians, if God can use Noah, who was a drunk, there were people who, had problems. If God can use a harlot, He can use anyone to spread the good news. We all have sinned and fallen short of the glory. Trying to get bogged down into things that don't mean as much as you make them out to be. There's a much better picture going on here, much bigger picture. Please keep that in mind.
So, a lot of strong reaction coming because of this article. What do you see as the long-term fallout? Do you think Christianity today will pay a price for this?
I can't say, but no question, Christianity today has changed, and it's unfortunate. But at the same time, they're the ones who invoked my father's name. And I just thought it was important to speak out for him and let the readers know where my father would have been so disappointed in this. And the fact that Christianity today took sides in something that was so partisan and obvious partisan. And the president says he's not guilty of what he's been charged with, and I would have to agree with him to prove it differently.
Holier than thou, never Trumpism. Come off it, man.